Hey, thank you for tuning in to Instrumental Intel. I am your host, music producer, Chick with Beats, and I'm thrilled that you've joined me today. I got another episode that's got tons of music industry news. I'm going to try to keep it brief as usual, but it's been a lot going on. And of course, there will be beats produced by me for your inspiration. And later, Nubi the Ear Hustler will be joining me. We're going to talk about chronicling music history, past and present. And so it's going to be a great time. I'm really excited to be bringing this episode to you. As usual, before I go ahead and drop that first beat, I gotta give a shout out to my home station, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And with that, let's go. producer Chick with Beats, and you're listening to my podcast, Instrumental Intel. I'm back with the Music Biz Brief. First up, TikTok is testing a new pre-save feature for albums, allowing users to pre-save albums they discover on the app directly to Spotify and Apple Music. This feature, now in beta, enables artists to promote upcoming releases by letting fans automatically add these albums to their libraries upon release. It expands TikTok's Add to Music app strategy, which helps users add songs to playlists on other platforms. This move aligns with TikTok's efforts to drive music engagement beyond its app, even as it ends its own TikTok music streaming service and shifts towards promoting external streaming while navigating new deals with independent labels. And speaking of new deals with independent labels, TikTok has signed a new direct licensing deal with Ditto Music, a major indie distribution platform that also offers services and represents over 1 million artists. This agreement follows TikTok's recent direct deal with United Masters, bypassing previous partnerships managed through Merlin. Ditto CEO stated that the deal includes access to TikTok, CapCut, and the commercial music library, offering expanded opportunities for Ditto's artists. And as you probably know by now, TikTok's agreement with Merlin expired October 31st, so other indie distributors must now pursue direct deals with TikTok in order to continue monetizing on the platform. Alright, next up, TikTok's got some more competition. A new Fediverse-based short-form video app called Loops is in the works, offering an alternative to TikTok. Created by the developer of Instagram alternative Pixelfied, Loops lets users post 60-second videos with features like sound usage, video remixing, and curated comment sections coming soon. Currently in beta, Loops requires email confirmation to join and will be available on iOS via test flight with a side-loadable version for Android. The app uses human moderators and a user trust score system for content review. Presently, Loops doesn't sell user data or provide videos for AI training, instead relying on grants and donations for funding. In other news, CSAC Music Group has acquired Hawk, a copyright management company known for managing YouTube's Content ID and Facebook's rights manager for independent music and media catalogs. Hawk, which also runs distribution service Distro with 2 I's, and microsync platform Keyframe Audio, will operate under CSAC's Music Services division alongside Audio Salad. The acquisition aligns with CSAC's focus on providing robust royalty collection and asset management services for independent labels and publishers. This move is a part of CSAC's growth strategy following recent acquisitions of companies like Audio Salad, Audiem, and the Harry Fox Agency. Alright, and Qobuz, the high-res music streaming and downloads platform, has officially launched in Japan, marking its 26th market. Known for catering to high-quality audio enthusiasts, Qobuz enters Japan at a time when paid streaming is growing rapidly despite making up less than 30% of the market. The company's Japanese service will include local music like J-pop and follows its 2021 acquisition of Japanese high-res download platform Iankyo Music. With Japan's strong demand for premium sound quality, the platform sees a promising future for its offerings in this market. Next up, Duetti, a music investment company focused on indie rights, has raised $114 million to expand its catalog acquisition. This funding includes $34 million in new equity led by FlexPoint Forward and $80 million through its first asset-backed securitization deal, marking a milestone as the first independent music rights securitization on Wall Street. Founders say Duetti aims to provide diverse funding for independent artists, helping them scale globally and access immediate funding. Since launching in 2023, Duetti has supported 500 artists with deals from $10,000 to $3 million, helping boost streams and visibility. Alright, unfortunately, Tidal is facing another round of layoffs as Jack Dorsey, the CEO of the parent company Block, announced a shift to operate quote-unquote like a startup with a smaller team. In a message to staff, he explained plans to cut roles in product management, marketing, and design, with engineering likely next in line. The restructuring could impact up to 100 employees, which is about a quarter of Tidal's workforce, and it would be the second layoff since December. Block, which acquired Tidal in 2021, aims to streamline operations to focus on artist support amid tough competition from larger streaming platforms. Alright, the global music merch market is projected to hit $16.3 billion annually by 2030, but Media Research warns that growth is actually slowing, with yearly gains predicted to be just 1.6% by the end of the decade. Now that's not all bad, growth is still growth, but those gains are expected to lessen a little bit. Media's report includes sales of both physical and digital merchandise, as well as vinyl, CDs, and cassettes. An analyst highlights challenges, noting that fan-made and secondhand merch make up about a quarter of sales, cutting into official revenues. She also suggests that artists might benefit by collaborating with these unlicensed sellers, and she cautions labels against over-harvesting fandom, which could risk future growth. And she's definitely got a point. I mean, how many news stories have we seen and have I shared? It's where everybody's talking about trying to capitalize on super fans. So yeah, you definitely don't want to exhaust the people who are willing to support the artists. So yeah, she's got a point there, but just something to be aware of. It doesn't mean that you need to stop producing merch. Of course, it's not going anywhere. So yeah, it's still something useful to have. But yeah, those growth margins are narrowing. Alright, next up, global royalty collections hit a record $14.2 billion in 2023, largely driven by a recovery in live music and public performances, according to CSAC's latest report. So music royalties accounted for $12.72 billion, up 7.6% year over year, though growth is slowing. Live performance royalties rose 22%, while digital collections increased by 9.6%, though most creators find streaming revenue insufficient. An analyst noted that the digital market is nearing saturation, with many users canceling subscriptions due to rising costs. CSAC also highlighted AI as a potential threat to creator income, urging protective policies for artists' rights. And as we know, there are people in Congress all over, in various governments across the world that have been kind of fighting for that, even here in the US. So, there's an election coming up. That's all I'm going to say about that for now, maybe a little bit more later. But yeah, just something to be aware of going into 2025. It'll be interesting to see what the stats for 2024 are once that kind of rolls around again. But yeah, we've been hearing a lot about how the sector's kind of drying up a little bit. But I mean, honestly, with the way things have been going, there are very many sectors that have been struggling right now. But keep your head up. Music distribution platform United Masters has extended its partnership with the NFL through the 2027 season, enhancing access to its sync library of indie artists for NFL content. This agreement follows music integration across NFL programming and provides additional licensing packages for NFL member clubs. The partnership aims to showcase independent artists to millions of fans and reflects a growing trend in sports entertainment where music licensing plays a crucial role. And as we know, I've shared some stories about how the NFL has gotten in trouble for using music on their social media channels without the proper licensing. So hey, maybe they'll be looking to do some more deals within that regard, so that way, hopefully independent artists can benefit from that. Alright, and finally, Snapchat's latest update shows growth that could benefit indie artists looking to reach new audiences. With daily active users rising to 443 million, the app saw a 25% increase in content watch time, reflecting higher engagement potential. Notably, global user growth outside North America and Europe surged by 15.6%, with Snapchat Plus subscriptions doubling to 12 million. This expansion highlights new opportunities for artists to share content, connect with fans, and potentially gain exposure through the platform's expanding public sharing feature, where over 1 billion snaps are now shared monthly. For artists, Snapchat's reach could provide a powerful tool for audience growth. So yeah, I bet some of the people in the US might be scratching their heads right now because growth has been kind of flat in the US over the year. But hey, it's blowing up everywhere else. And so especially to the people listening in the US, remember that the world is much larger than where we are. And so yeah, you definitely got to capitalize on that. Alright, and one more tidbit before I take a quick pause for the cause. Apple Music has released their delivery deadline, so if you're dropping music this holiday season, somewhere between November 29th and January 3rd, there are specific dates that you need to make sure that you have your music submitted by. So make sure that you check that out. If you want to take a quick peek at my Instagram, there's a photo there that's got those specific dates listed. Alright, now I'm going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then I'll be back with my special guest, Nubi the Ear Hustler. Keep it locked. Hey, I'm a Chick with Beats, multi-genre music producer and strategist to indie artists and labels. Visit achickwithbeats.com for resources for artists and instrumentals in various genres available for songs, vlogs, blogs, podcasts, themes, TV, film, commercials, and more. Once again, that's achickwithbeats.com. That's achickwitbeatz.com. Let's make something happen. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to Instrumental Intel. I'm your host, music producer, Chick with Beats, and I'm very, very excited to say that I have Nubi, the ear hustler, in the virtual building with me today. And, you've been doing so many things just for the culture. I'd like for you to be able to take a moment and, just kind of share with the listeners who you are and how you got into doing what you do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I was excited when I heard that Chick with Beats was reaching out to me. I was like, what? Let me go ahead and take this interview. So shout out to Ultra Mag 7 for that, for putting me in touch with you. So so again, I am Nubi the Ear Hustler. I have a show called We Ear Hustling Baby. And I started out about 3 years ago, actually, in the middle of the pandemic. Okay. And maybe it's 3.5 years ago now. What I did was I started out doing my own show, and then I also reached out to another platform called Weekly Rap Gods. Okay. And I had been watching them, and I noticed that there was a gentleman, his name is Twan Mack, who was hosting these interviews alongside another young lady, and I don't know her name. And I just felt like, you know what, I could do this. And I think this would be the perfect platform because I do have some background in hip hop. And so I reached out to the owner of Weekly Rap Gods. His name is Frankie Salvation. Shout out to Frankie Salvation. And I said, hey, I'd like to audition to become a co-host. And he was like, oh, okay, who would you audition with? And I said, I'll get Chip Fu. And so he's like, okay. And so I did the interview. Chip was gracious enough to let me use him as my first experiment, if you will. And it took off from there. I started doing hip hop interviews there as a co-host with Twan Mack. And then on my page, it was mainly geared towards R&B, actually, when I first started it, because R&B is my first love. And I said, you know what? I want to do both. And so I did. And for almost 2.5 years, we did weekly interviews on Weekly Rap Gods. And then I alternated and did weekly interviews on my show.
That's a lot.
Yes. I think what happened was, again, it's the middle of the pandemic. It's surreal.
Yeah.
You're not even I'm like, is this happening? I just lost my father at the top of the pandemic. He actually saw a bit of what was unraveling, and then he passed away. And I was just like, and my mom had passed away in 2018. And while I was sad that they were gone, I was glad they weren't there for that. And so just trying to find my footing. I have a 9-to-5 job. I love music. I've always loved it. And I just jumped.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's already a lot to put together a weekly show. But then to be doing it, twice a week with, other stuff you're already dealing with, your home situation, family, and then working on top of that, that's a lot. So I think that automatically kind of speaks to your love for the culture and pushing it forward. Yes. So I guess let me ask this in a way where I won't make you have to choose, but have you had any, interviews that kind of stuck with you a little bit longer than others?
I think, and it's not about choosing more than I think, you just have these memories that come as soon as somebody asks you that type of question, what comes to mind. I'm going to say on Weekly Rap Gods, there were two. One was really, really funny, with Bizarre from D12. When I tell you, first of all, he's a sweetheart, but he's so funny. And he was engaging. He was in a car. He was out the car. He stopped at the chicken wing spot all during the interview. Okay. And he did some other things that we were shocked by, but it was just a funny and surprising interview. And so, that was amazing. And then Speech from Arrested Development.
Nice.
That was, I've never seen him perform live, so that's on my bucket list. But, we know the history of Arrested Development, and, they're a powerful group, collective, it's just amazing. And he was also just really down to earth. His wife was amazing. She jumped in real quick on the interview. And I felt like I was talking to somebody that I had known forever. And so that was pretty dope. On the R&B side, man, so I'm going to say my best interviews were actually probably my first two. Goodness. And my first two, they were very early on. The first one was with Eric Roberson, who I absolutely adore. Had been listening to his music for years. My sister put me on to him when he first came out. And another just, gracious man, easy to talk to. I felt like, I knew him forever. And then there's an artist by the name of El Mean, who is just now turning, I think, 22 or 23, who came on the scene. Questlove found him first. And I saw him on Questlove's page, and I immediately reposted the music, and he was singing D'Angelo's How Does It Feel? And I actually got an interview with him, and I got his first ever interview.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yes. And he is a personality. He's got to be, I'm 5'2". I swear he got to be about 6'6", 6'7".
I'm 5'2" too.
Yeah, all right. That's what I'm talking about. Love short people enough.
Right, absolutely.
So he was funny, engaging, he sang, it was just really a dope moment. And then I saw him live in Brooklyn maybe a year or so ago, and he was on stage and he spotted me. He was like, Nubi, I see you. You the OG, Nubi. And I didn't even get a chance to really give him a hug or anything, but it was just a matter of him understanding, I think, where I was in his life, and maybe hopefully the importance that interview, had.
Yeah.
But he's dope. He's Sudanese out of the UK. Just so dope. So yeah, so there are quite a few. I mean, and there are others, the Psycho Les one, Elder Sensei. I've had so many interviews. The legendary Black Ice. I've done him too. Incredible. The first one, we were both in tears. I have that on my YouTube page. Man, there's too many to say favorites, but I'm going to say there's some ones that jump me off in terms of doing We Ear Hustling, baby.
Okay, that's what's up. So, for you to be able to kind of document what's happening and some of the things that have happened, it's so important to preserving the culture. I don't think enough people actually understand, the task that you have, and you're doing it so well. But when you reflect back to when you first fell in love with music, R&B and hip hop, who are some of those legends that automatically come to your mind?
R&B, man, Luther, Mickey Howard, her and I have connected, and she's so dope. Melba Moore, who I've also connected with, obviously Stevie Wonder, Phyllis Hyman. I mean, so many greats on the R&B side. And then in terms of the 90s, we had Mary, and man, I would sing my head off listening to Mary. There are so many. I mean that, and I just put this in a post today about Clark Kent. A lot of this music is the soundtrack to our lives, right? And so I think about where I was when I heard certain things like SWV and, all these amazing Faith Evans, all these amazing artists. There's just so many names, but those are some of the favorites in terms of R&B. In terms of hip hop, man, I'm going to start out with DMX, who, man, he was special. You know what I mean? He was just really, really special. He's one of my faves. I know most people say Tupac. Yeah, I mean, Tupac, Biggie, yeah, of course, they're dope. there was just the poetic sadness about DMX that, resonated with me. If we go further back, I'm going to say Artifacts, Bush Babies, which are probably a little more underground. Bush Babies had a little more commercial success. Man, I'm old. So, I can go all the way back to Sugar Hill Gang and, say, man, I brought them to class for show and tell. So, it's KRS-One. It's just Big Daddy Kane. There's just so many.
Yeah.
It's all too. It's like the one thing I would say about my age group is that we have lived through the best years of music, right? The best years, because we got to see all the changes. We got to listen to and enjoy our parents' music and come forward. And I always tell people, we not your grandma's grandma. You know what I mean? We're different, you know what I mean? So we've experienced so much change and so much cyclical music, and that, everything comes back around. We talk about hip hop artists, the golden era hip hop artists, even boom bap hip hop artists that are now re-releasing, coming back out and saying, yo, we still here. I love it. MC Light, Rakim, like LL, like this is what is needed in hip hop to kind of mix the pot up a little bit. And then we have this change and shift happening where we have a lot of hip hop artists talking about God and talking about spirituality. I actually work with an artist by the name of Jay Swiss, who is just incredible. Like, he's greatness to me. He's like La Russell, in that he comes out and he speaks the truth. La Russell is a little more cursing and carrying on, but there's this faith-based, not overly faith-based, in that it's being slammed in your face, but affirmational, and then great lyrics to go with it. And with Jay, he knows how to work with an orchestra. Like, that's not normal. That's not the average person. So there's so much amazing hip hop out here. I have a hard time getting off of Instagram and ear hustling.
Okay, well, with you saying that, perfect segue into the next thing I wanted to ask. With you having this connection to this rich history of, good classic music, and still being able to pick out real talent today. So a lot of times, especially online, you see a lot of complaints about, today's music, but really they're just talking about the mainstream stuff. How, if you have, I guess, maybe advice for anybody listening that kind of has a hard time knowing that there's still dope stuff out there, you just got to go find it. You got to work a little bit harder than maybe we had to in the 90s or whatever.
Yeah. I think, and you kind of just said it, you got to work a little harder, but it's out there. So, once let's say you like Jay Swiss and you start listening to his music, your algorithm is going to change. You're going to be getting fed a different type of music. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's so many platforms like SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and even the other ones, Spotify, that you can discover music that is your taste. So, it's out there. You just got to want to see it. And by the way, on Instagram, you can say, I'm not interested in seeing this. Yeah. And it'll take it out your... So I think people there has come with this social media stuff. First of all, instant gratification is number one. Mm-hmm. People want it and they want it now. And as soon as it's here, it's gone. And that's what a lot of music, almost all of it. I don't care how good it is. You're moving on to the next thing after you've had it. The longest running song in the last 2 years is probably 24 Hours by Money Long. If you think about it, obviously there's the Taylor Swifts and there's the Beyoncés, but I'm talking about, those are exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Right. But when you start looking at those that are not at that level yet, if the consumer doesn't demand it and demand that it stay, then there's a problem. If the artist doesn't understand how to corral their tribe, the artist.
Wow.
So it's out there.
If they don't understand how to corral their tribe, that's a bar right there, first of all.
But it's true. I mean, you put out something, some people like it, some people won't.
Right.
You focus on the people that like it. Why? Because those people are going to be your mouthpiece. Those people are going to be the people that spread the word. Those are the people you treat well. Those are the people you invite to special guests and special events. Those are the people that you talk to. So you begin to curate your world.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you got to be patient and you got to know what to do. I am no one's A&R, but damn it, I got a pretty good ear and I know what it takes to get these things going. You can't just throw it out there and hope it sticks. You got to have a reason as to why you're putting out this music, what you want to get from it, and what you're trying to convey with it.
Wow. I mean, well, first of all, thank you for dropping that gem. Most of the listeners are independent artists.
Yes.
So yeah, definitely got to highlight what you just said there, because I mean, that's so important. I mean, if you think about it, if you follow any independent artist online, anybody listening out there, chances are you've come across a post where they're complaining about people not supporting them. And as a supporter, that kind of sucks. Like, I know I hate when I see it. Like, yeah, y'all don't like good music. Da, da, da. I'm like, well, wait, I just shared your stuff the other day. Like, that doesn't mean anything to you. But
right.
Yeah, like you said, to focus on the people who like what you do.
Right.
Because I honestly believe anybody that feels compelled to make music, they actually have inspiration, is because somebody else needed to hear the product. So yeah, if you spend so much time focusing on the folks that scroll past or didn't say anything, then you know, your focus is just in the wrong direction. So yeah, I appreciate you so much for dropping that gem.
Welcome. Yeah, I think you know, everything ain't for everybody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's human nature. And one of the things that one of the people I've been following, Demiza.
Yeah,
man, he's brilliant. You know what I mean. And I know he's been in this game for a long time, but another thing that he mentioned, which I agree with, which goes hand in hand with the tribe thing, is synergy. That's how you create synergy. That's part of it. It's not all of it, but it's part of it, by understanding, okay, my consumer or my fans or my tribe, and I hate the word fans, but my tribe likes this. All right. Then you open them up to a little more, and and you bring them along, because people don't know what they like until you give it to them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Was it that Ford quote? Like, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So, yeah.
You know, or when you ask people what they like, they don't tell you what they like. They tell you what they don't like.
Yeah.
Think about that. Ask your girlfriend or your homeboy, oh, you know, what kind of food do you like? Well, I don't like tacos. But I didn't ask you that.
Right.
What you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's this, even in just ordinary conversation, we start with negative.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So, yeah, you miss out on the good stuff looking at the wrong stuff.
That's it. Stop focusing on what you can't get. Stop focusing on what you don't like. Focus on what you can get. Focus on what you like.
Yeah. Another bar there. Definitely appreciate that.
No worries.
So yeah, you know, as someone who's interviewed so many people, when independent artists are maybe looking for some press or looking for interviews, what are some, I guess, do's and don'ts that you have to offer, you know, before they start reaching out to different podcasts and blogs and whatnot?
I would say have an EPK prepared, bio prepared, a link with your music prepared to send to whomever you want to be interviewed by. That is the most important thing, because you want the interviewer to be familiar with you and your music. And so that when they interview you, they're talking to your strengths. Right? They know who you are, at least somewhat, from your bio or your EPK. I would say also, don't be, and I'm not sure if you've experienced this, but if you send someone a DM and say, hey, I would love for you to interview me, don't come into the DM talking about, yo, ma, yo, what up? Yo, let's work. Because I'm going to ignore you. I might block you. There has to be a certain etiquette. I don't care how old you are. You're not going to get a response from me if you do that. A good morning always works. A hello.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't send me stuff all random. I've had people do that back to back every day for a week. Just send me stuff. No hello, no nothing. I'm like, what you want me to do with this? I'm not going to do nothing with it. I'm going to delete it.
Right.
Just be prepared. Know that there are like probably 5 basic questions that you're going to be asked, and be prepared to answer those questions. Do your homework on the podcast or the interview. Understand their interview style. Because if you're not a talker, then that means I have to pull the information from you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Practice on being comfortable with yourself, being comfortable in your skin, being able to speak. Like communication, verbal communication is becoming a lost art.
Mm.
Why? Because we text. Why? Because we use shorthand and we use all these little emojis and LOLs and FMLs and you know what I mean? Like, so people aren't speaking anymore. And that is an issue as well. And understand the value of an interview. That's lost. That's on lost. Now that's just lost on every age group I've come across.
Yeah.
I don't need an interview. Okay.
Right.
Like, I'm not pressed. But I suggest that you rethink that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just say, just be prepared. Make sure that the interviewer is prepared and they know what you got out there. Make sure that you are prepared to talk about all your social media handles, what you got coming. Tout your strengths. Yeah, I've worked with, Marcus Machado, who's, an amazing guitarist out of wherever. Or listen, this is your opportunity to shine. Yeah. So make it work.
Man, that's wonderful advice. I hope everybody listening will take it to heart. Because, and I have experienced some of those where it's just rude. Like, yo, I got this new video coming out. Let me get on your next show. I'm like, yeah, you don't understand the schedule. I've had people reach out on previous shows, like radio shows. I had a talk show before, and people would just ask me if I'd play their music. And I'm like, well, one, that lets me know you never listened to the show because you would have understood it's talk radio. So,
right.
Yeah, now I'm not even going to address it. So, yeah, it's interesting how many people just feel so brazen to just think that you owe them, the exposure.
Entitled.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Entitled with no couth. And it's just lost on them. It's like, gimme this. Yo, I need you. Really?
Right.
You got the wrong person. This is the wrong platform for that.
Yeah.
It's not for this platform. No. And it's funny that you say that because in terms of the talk radio, it's something that I want to get into. So kudos to you. I think that talk radio is going to blow, mark my words, because as the environment changes, and I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but I do believe there will be a point where we have nothing, and we will go back to transistor radios for a short, brief time, even if it's just a full-on blackout. You guys are going to be the ones that are going to be there filling us in. So that's my next endeavor.
I was just reading something about how they were trying to put protections in place for AM radio to keep it from, kind of going by the wayside like it has been. I think there's some more like bills or something that they have to do, but I did hear that they were working on that kind of legislature. So yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't look at it that way, but now that you say that and I'm tying it with what I read, I bet you're right.
Yeah. I always think about the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington when he finds the radio in the wherever it was, a box or dirt or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. It's going to eventually come to that, I believe, but that's just my own thoughts. But yeah, there's definitely a space, and I hope it doesn't go away.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, it's just really to be documenting things that have happened and the things that are happening, because so I believe it was 2023 was my first time ever visiting DC, and I kind of fell in love with the culture and everything. But we were going through the Smithsonian. And, looking at some of the things, the memorabilia that they had up, the space, the mothership replica and all this other stuff. So I'm looking at the museum, looking at all these different, musical artifacts. And I was thinking, I bet these people didn't know at the time that they were creating this stuff that this would eventually be erected, like for people to go and learn. So, I really feel like taking, interviews, being a music journalist in this era is still super important, because, we're documenting stuff as it happened. Later back, they'll look and be like, oh yeah, I remember when, so-and-so said this, that, or the other. But yeah, it's just so important. And I think, just the fact that, it's happening in real time. History gets made in real time. We don't realize it's history until we look back. So yeah. Salute to you for what you do.
Thank you.
And keeping us up to date on all the legends and what they're doing. Before, looking at the time, it feels like it went by so fast. Yes. But I hope that I get to have you back again in the future.
Yes.
But definitely before we go, I want to make sure that everybody knows everything that you've got going on. Every show, every podcast, YouTube thing they need to subscribe to. Give them all your information and what they need to check out.
Okay, thank you. So I am Nubi the Ear Hustler. My social media page on IG is We Ear Hustling Baby. It is the same thing on Threads. I do have a YouTube page. It is called We Ear Hustling Baby. I am only doing my podcast for my page at the current time. I am continuing to do interviews. I will say that my format is going to change for the new year. I hope to be doing some more live things. And I also hope to be getting some events together, because part of what I do is bring attention to newer artists who I like, and I expose them to the masses. And I'm looking to do something where I have a few of those artists perform. So hopefully that will come to fruition in second quarter of 2025. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you. And again, shout out to Ultramag for connecting us. This has been a blast. And yeah, I really look forward to talking with you again, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime, reach out. You have an amazing day. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of Instrumental Intel. I've been your host, music producer, Chick with Beats. I'd like to thank you once again for tuning in and listening. I'd like to thank my special guest, Nubi the Ear Hustler, for coming through and sharing her experience and wisdom. I'd also like to thank my home station, Grander Radio, out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And once again, I'm excited to come back next week. I got more goodies lined up for you. My special guest, music artist Tamike, will be joining me. We're going to talk about the power of perspective and perseverance in music. So it's going to be another great time. But before then, please make sure that you get out, exercise your right to vote. It's more than just a presidential election going on, especially as all this new legislation is trying to get pushed through for things that affect independent artists. Please make sure that your voice gets heard and that you're choosing people who are actually going to represent you. All right, till next time, you know where to find me. Tune in, tell a friend. I'll see you then. Peace.